Welcome to today's episode of Print to Pixel, the podcast where we talk to marketing leaders and technologists about how omnichannel marketing is revolutionizing the way that direct mail and digital marketing are used together. My name is Dennis Kelly. I'm the CEO of Postalytics, the leading direct mail automation platform that makes direct mail marketing as easy as email. I'm excited today to speak with Susan Frew of Sunshine Plumbing and Heating and a variety of other organizations. Susan is the servant leader of Sunshine Home Services. She's also the master thrifter and chief fundraiser of Thriftinista and a keynote speaker with interests in turnaround coaching for small businesses and in using artificial intelligence in today's workplace. I met Susan recently at the Home Services Growth Summit, which is a great conference that we attended in Orlando in February. She's got an amazing story, and I know the audience is going to be thrilled to hear about it. So, Susan, welcome to Print to Pixel.
Hi. Thank you, Dennis, so much. Thank you so much for having me. I love doing these kinds of interviews and getting to meet different audiences. So thanks for having me on.
Well, it's my pleasure. And as I mentioned, I thought your origin story and the twists and turns and things that have happened in your career that have led you to this point are so unique and interesting. I'd love if you could start with sharing with the audience some of the highlights and ups and downs that have kind of taken you to this point in your life. And I think that'll help the audience have some context understanding of who you are and why the things that you're passionate about are so interesting.
Great. Well, sure. Absolutely. So my background is in sales and in tech. So I started many, many moons ago in New York City selling wireless phones. I worked for AT&T Wireless back in the day when technology was new, kind of like where we are now with AI, but and look where that went when they said, oh, you're going to be able to have a computer on your phone. We're like, what? That's not happening. Wireless data, what the heck is that? No one's going to buy that. Everyone wants to talk. Well, here we are again. But that is my background. That is my love. My passion is technology. And I got transferred to Denver, and then I was outside of the U.S. for a few years. I was a general manager for 2 countries. So St. Vincent and the Grenadines and Grenada, which are in the Caribbean. And when I came back, I bought a business coaching franchise. And through that, I met my husband. And then weirdly, I ended up coaching 18 different kinds of trades. And there are actually 18 of them. But my husband and I started a plumbing and heating company together. He had already been doing that as a solopreneur, but we turned it into a company and grew up. But that wasn't what I loved doing. Like, I love starting things. I love the tech part. I like innovating. Operationally, I'm not your person. I do not ever hire me to be your operations manager because you will crash and burn. But anyhow, we had our ups and downs in the business. But last year, and I always kept myself separate. Like, I always had my speaking, my coaching outside of the plumbing and heating company. But last year, my husband ended up getting really sick, and he almost died. And so he ended up in the hospital for a good long period. And then a few months later, he got struck by lightning. And that really was a wake-up call. Like the first one wasn't, but it really was. And we looked at each other. We're like, we hate doing this. Like, I wanted nothing to do with the company for a long time. And he was just over it. He was overwhelmed. He just didn't want to do that. He wanted to make life better. And I'm like, well, I want to just do AI speaking full time, have absolutely nothing to do with the plumbing company. But, we were carrying a lot of debt, and we were big and bloated like many companies out there. So with what I knew about technology and what I learned from AI, we were able to scale down the operation significantly so that it could be in a position to exit. And that's where we are right now. We are actively in the middle of an exit strategy. So we're very excited about that because I just want to do what we're doing right now and talk about this and find cool new things. But through that, though, we were able to deploy AI for so many different things: answering service, marketing, website, SEO, onboarding, you name it, bookkeeping. We were able to put it in there. And then now my mission is everyone's tour guide of AI. So I show people how to really use it and use it right now in your business, not like some big, whoa, like this is what's going to happen. And then blah, blah, blah. And then we're all going to go to the moon. And it's very real time. Like use it right now today.
Well, and that's what I found so different and unique. Postalytics is obviously in the tech world. I'm surrounded by technology people here. I call myself a techie wannabe. But so often the way that the information is communicated about what AI is and what it can do and how you should use it, it's filled with jargon. It's coming from the perspective of an engineer, right? And most of the rest of us are not engineers and we don't understand this jargon, and it's hard to sort of translate. Okay, I understand it can figure out what I'm saying or what I'm typing, and it can come back to me with stuff, but how do I take that and use it to solve a real problem today? And so that's what's so interesting about your approach to doing this. So this podcast is about marketing. So before we dive in too deep, let's talk about the lessons you've learned in your career in running the home services business and in speaking to and coaching all of these different 18 trades. What have you learned about marketing? What are the lessons that the home services folks out there who are listening and the general marketers that are listening, what advice do you have at a high level for today and what's happening today?
Well, first of all, Dennis, I need to share with you that we are called normies. Right.
Normies.
So normies are the non-tech people. I speak tech geek and I speak normie. So I'm kind of the tour guide between the two. And interestingly, I put out my newsletter every Wednesday. I put out my newsletter. So for those of you listening, we're recording this on a Tuesday. Wednesday rather, we put our newsletter out, and my newsletter is all about the acronyms. And what started it is that every morning I listen to all of the AI news that has happened since yesterday. And, believe it or not, it's over an hour a day of the tech news. And I listen to it on 1.5 speed. And so I used to just put my phone in. I would listen to it like while I was getting ready in the morning. It drives my husband bananas because he has no idea what they're talking about, and especially at that speed, right? So, maybe if you slow it down, we could get half of it. But when you're listening to some of these guys on 1.5 speed and they are talking geek, it's really uncomfortable for the rest of the room. So I put out a newsletter. This is what all the acronyms mean. And so this is what they're talking about. This is why they're talking about it. And why should you care?
Right.
But there's some acronyms that are really important right now, like AGI, which is, when AI starts thinking for itself. And that's what everyone's afraid of.
Right.
But, that's sort of my introduction to AI and getting people comfortable with it, like really helping people to understand what you can use it for. Because I get emails all the time. Could you teach me AI? And I'm like, well, about what? Like, what do you want to do with it? Well, I just want to know how to use it. So, people are really in the dark. I think, and that surprises me. Probably surprises you, being in the the business world, but there's a lot of people who really have no idea.
No, it's not surprising because not many people have ever called me a normie. because I'm pretty abnormal in a lot of ways. My wife is definitely a normie, and I'm helping her with this all day long, and I think she represents the vast majority of people that are hearing little bits and pieces here and there, and they don't really understand how to map it to their life and the things that they're trying to get done.
Mm-hmm.
From a marketing standpoint, um, I just picked up that you have put together kind of a new interesting framework. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about
Yeah.
that?
So I don't know about all of you listening. I don't know about you, Dennis, but what I have been seeing lately everywhere is vibe marketing. And I'm like, what is that? Like, why? So what do I do in times of confusion is I go to my friend ChatGPT and be like, what the heck is this stuff? And so if you were curious, because believe me, now that I say this to you, I've now activated your reticular activating system and you will see it everywhere. So vibe marketing is this: value, identity, belonging, and emotion. And this is the new way of marketing by giving people something meaningful, education, entertainment, inspiration, or solutions.
Hmm.
And that is the new way of communicating marketing, which is interesting, right? Because all of those words, value, identity, belonging, and emotion, are not technical at all.
No, no, they're more
However,
psychological, right?
they are, and they're connection building. So that's where people are always saying to me, well, what are we going to do when all the robots take over and all the AI takes over? What are the people going to do? Well, we have a lot to do. All of these things, value, identity, belonging, emotion, are things that we are going to do that you cannot teach the AI to do it for you. So people are still buying and connecting on an emotional level. It's just the vehicle to get it in front of the people is changing, right? And
Right.
that is where the tech comes in. So
That's
the
right.
messaging is actually more warm and fuzzy than it's ever been, but it's just coming to you in a new channel, let's say.
Right. Right. Yeah. And these channels are evolving and changing, super rapidly. And that's where I think uh, the work that you're doing on translating all this rapid evolution in the AI world for the normies of the world is so important and really valuable. So you got the V on the vibe taken care of
Yeah.
here, and so uh, and let's drill down a second. A lot of our audience either is sending direct mail or thinking about sending direct mail. Um, and in the home services world where you and your husband's company has been, it's traditionally an industry that sends direct mail.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of change going on. There's been influx of new channels and new ways to do marketing. Why don't you help the audience understand your perspective on, where direct mail fits, why it's important, and how does it fit into this landscape of lots of different ways to communicate with an audience?
Well, so our company has 37,000 people in its database. Most of them have email addresses. And we used to get a ton of business from email marketing. I mean, we would send out our monthly newsletter, blah, blah, blah. And then we sort of switched to a new platform, which is a big mistake because when we did that and all of these new email rules cropped up, we were not able to email our base, even though they're people we had been emailing for years, like all these new rules, the opt-in and the double opt-in and the what do a cartwheel and then opt in, like all the things. And we couldn't send it anymore. Um, so I feel a couple of different things. One, I always say to people, you need to go old school before you go new school. And that applies to the AI. You don't want to start slapping AI on your company if you have not completely evaluated your workflow processes and figured out where you have stucks, problems, issues that you need more efficiency. And then you apply the AI. I also think the same applies to marketing. going old school while everybody else is going new school. So if everyone's going to blitz the internet with AI generated content, which if you're not good at it, it's very transparent and people know it's AI content and it's irritating. I think that direct mail is an amazing engine right now because you can be super focused. You can take all those people that you can't email to anymore. You can be hyper vigilant on which neighborhoods and zip codes are your best ones and where you can get the most revenue. And it's really cost effective because, even though you can find new ways to use AI cost effectively in your marketing, Google is still not going away, making $313 billion a year on paid search. So the cost of that's going to keep going. So you need to find cost effective things that are going to work. And because there's less people mailing, I think that this is the ideal time for you to get in there and mail it.
Well, that's really, Susan, you touched on some things that were really behind the founding principles of Postalytics. From what we were seeing happening is that, open rates of email marketing are going down. At the same time, companies are investing more and more in marketing technology. And the physical mailbox is less and less crowded. And so, there's a correlation there, right? Like, let's connect the technology to a channel that is less crowded and make it easy and fast and simple for people to be able to generate, campaigns that put something in the hands of people. And one of the things that we're hearing from our customers now is that they love the fact that the software automates the process, makes everything faster and easier, and is far less time consuming than doing direct mail the old fashioned way. But getting that physical piece in people's hands in today's world, where we're being bombarded with digital messages all day long, where AI and everything is changing so quickly, there's an emotional piece of this. That when you have something that you're holding in your hand, it feels so tangible and real. It has a higher level of trust than a lot of things that come from a lot of other channels. And that, so on the Vibe marketing front, that emotional piece of putting something in a person's hand for them to have control of. They can look at it, they can throw it away, they're not being tracked. There's a far more tangible way of communicating with people in a physical medium than through digital mediums. And of course, we're not saying don't do those things. Of course, you need to do those things, but direct mail should be a part of that strategy so that you can augment your spend in other channels with this physical piece. And so that's why I think a lot of folks are turning the channel to assist their spend in some of these other areas with Google and with email and other things.
Yeah, agreed. I wholeheartedly agree with you. And when we were at the conference where we connected, I was talking about our Pet Wash Pros company. That's something that we started just as a science experiment so that I could see what was possible with AI. Could I start a business in one day using AI? And the answer is yes, I can. And I did. So that was pretty cool. I was able to do that. But the pet wash company is very specialized and it's not for everyone. It totally is not. And doing spray and pray method of delivery is not going to work. So to get really, really hyper focused on those zip codes that have that really high income, have the larger homes, newer homes, that type of thing, that's absolutely what we needed to do. And so direct mail is going to be my way out, because first of all, with a product like that, so what it is, we don't wash dogs. We build the dog wash. in your garage, mudroom, laundry room, what have you. So, and it's pricey, it's not for everyone. It certainly is not. So why would we waste money on advertising in places where that's not our demographic? And number two, there's an education piece to this. It's not like everyone sees a picture of a water heater and they know they need it. People don't need this.
Right.
This is something that is a luxury, right? And when you're dealing with the luxury market, which I'm learning is very different because you don't advertise everywhere. It's wasteful to do it because if you're going after this particular market that likes dogs and has money, then it's not plain vanilla. So.
Right. Yeah. And that's where I think a lot of the shift has occurred in direct mail and using automation in the last few years, where it used to be much more of a spray and pray channel. And, you and I are of an age where we remember our mailboxes being filled with junk mail, right? And that's really no longer the case. It's much more now of a precision strike, surgical instrument that will get you in front of the only the people that really matter to you. So that's great. Let's wrap up with a little bit of advice for the audience around using AI. This is such an area of depth and passion for you. If you were talking to some owners and marketers in the home services world, marketers in general, what are the top couple of things that you would say in terms of using artificial intelligence to solve problems right now today?
All right. Well, here, I'm going to give the marketers some of their own advice. Use the vibe marketing strategy that, you have to have belonging, community, emotion in your marketing, AI or not. But I do think, and this is my advice to everyone who's thinking of deploying a new AI strategy, for the next week, simply take an old-fashioned pad and pen next to you and jot down all the things that you don't like doing and the things that are a giant time suck. They waste your time. They take you away from doing much more important things, revenue generating things, networking, community building, customer facing activities. And then let's see if we can't AI that. Right? That is step one. You have to go old school before you go new school. You have to evaluate your process. Where is it broken? Where can it be better? Where can it be faster? And then do it. And on the marketing side, the creativity is mind blowing right now. However, I think that you have to be careful of what kind of junk you're putting out there because you don't want to be accused of being the person with all the jerky AI things straight out of the AI program and not even looking and editing. And I like to say this, my microphone is my number one AI tool because I speak everything into my AI. I speak ideas for my newsletter, for my LinkedIn newsletter every week. I will speak almost the entire thing. And then I will ask the AI to polish it up, make it longer, make it shorter, give me a word count. What do we need? Give me references, whatever. And then boom, now we have got Susan's personalized content going out into the world. That doesn't look like a bunch of just computer generated stuff. Also, there are ways to customize all of your AIs. So that goes for Google Gemini, Meta, ChatGPT, all of them. And you need to personalize it with your voice and keep training that AI to learn you, your voice, your business. Otherwise, you're going to sound like a bot and you're not going to get the results that you want. So that's probably my big arching idea on that.
Well, and I completely agree. And so as we discussed, I sat there and listened to you speak in February, and one of the things that I took away is I came back and I thought, you know what? One of the most painful things for me here is that we have a lot of voices that are communicating to the market. We have marketing that is putting out a lot of stuff in a lot of channels. We have salespeople, we have client success people, we have customer service people, and we're all communicating. We're all giving versions of what Postalytics about, and how we solve problems. And so I went old school, and I spent a bunch of time putting together our brand guidelines.
Yes.
And I built out a document with the help of some AI and a lot of input from a lot of people. And I put this document together to kind of talk about, well, what does Postalytics do? Why is it important? What value are we bringing to the market? What type of brand voice do we want? Do we want to be, kind and friendly? Do we want to be challenging? Do we want to, so we went through a process to put together this brand guide. And now I use that, and I reference in the prompt, I say, make sure you're using the brand guide to help develop exactly what the style of writing is for this particular piece that we're trying to put out. And so that's informing email and social media, direct mail. We're using that in our own product. And so having that little overlay helps have some consistency and themes that are consistent, that we want to build as we're trying to build a brand, right? You have to kind of say, you have to say the same thing over and over again, maybe some different ways, right? But Coke didn't become Coke by telling 100 different stories.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Agreed. And I think that's true. I mean, and, we hear so many influencers or what have you, like, I'm going to stay on brand. Like, they get a little hyped up about it. But in reality, I mean, you see that target, and it's Target. Right? Like, you want people to know that about your company, and they see your messaging, that it's going to be trustworthy. And I think that's really, really important, that's how you have to get your message out to the world. And AI can really help with that. Because once you identify your brand and you have a brand kit, you could bake it into everything. Canva being like phenomenal example of that, right? For designing. How much money and time did we used to spend with graphic designers? And no offense to you guys out there, I'm sorry. But, hopefully you have morphed into another amazing area where your expertise is being used properly. But, we can go in there now. We create a brand kit, and then every single thing that we do is on brand. And I was just doing that this morning. I was creating worksheets for an upcoming conference, and all I did was click my brand kit, and I made a few edits on this document, and bam, now I have a worksheet, which I will tell you, that would have taken me days to do. Same thing with PowerPoint. Like, I use Gamma. Love Gamma, right? My whole brand kit's in there. I need a presentation. I typed a few lines, or I put a spoken document in there, and now I'm great, right? And I think that is going to keep going that way.
Yeah. So there's all sorts of ways that once you start getting your head wrapped around how this generative AI works, it can solve so many problems and let you, as a marketer or as a business person, focus on things that are important and worry less about executing on things that require a lot of time and repetition. AI can handle that. So thanks so much for doing what you're doing. It really had an impact on me when I heard you speak, and I'm thrilled that we're able to share your expertise with the audience here. So
great,
if the audience is interested, like, how do we follow up with Susan? I want to pick Susan's brain. I want to learn more. What are the channels? Like, how can the audience connect with you?
Anywhere at Susan Frew Speaks. So Instagram, X, LinkedIn, You're welcome to connect me on LinkedIn, but if you're trying to sell me something, I will delete you. But yeah, just hit me up. And you know what my love is to speak to audiences at conferences about AI and how they can use it. Usable AI. It is my happy place. I spend hours and hours and hours studying and preparing and learning, and it's the best time of my life. So it's very exciting, and I love sharing it. Hopefully it's infectious because everyone needs to learn. It's not going to stop.
Absolutely. It is infectious. Your enthusiasm is infectious. And thank you again for joining us today on Print to Pixel. So audience, you heard it. Track down Susan online. We'll share your contact info and your social handles in the show notes. So that'll all be out there. Reach out to Susan, book her for a speaking gig. You won't regret it. She's phenomenal. And Susan, thanks again so much. I look forward to seeing you again at another conference soon. And
Absolutely.
And thank you for joining us on Print to Pixel.